So today I'm here talking with Jonathan Jimerson, who we go way back, and he has been producing all sorts of content for his website. Now, a lot of times we talk about just getting you started. So he's kind of next level. So we're going to talk about things he can do to get more out of his content. And we always talk about making marketing faster and easier. So even after you finish a workout at the gym, you can pop in and do some marketing. So Jonathan, thanks for running through this with me. I'm going to level set what I think the issue is. I want you to tell me if I'm on point, and then we'll dig in. And so you've recently relocated. You've got a new venue, a new place that you're doing business. You are doing some cool things to create content, and you want to show up more broadly on search results. You had previously shared with me some search topics that you want to show up for, so we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But is that sort of a good summary of your situation?
That's it, man. Just want to rank high on a search engine.
Yeah. So a couple of things as we dig in here. Sometimes people will say to me, I want to rank on Google, or I want to rank well on Google. And I'm like, great, what do you want to rank for? Oh, right. So if I search for JJ Music by name, because of it being your name, I should find you. It shouldn't be a problem. So the things that search engine optimization can afford, and you gave me a list here of about 30, so I'll throw off just a few. Guitarist in Franklin. That's a great one. Guitar instructor in Franklin. Recording engineer in Nashville. Special education bands for kids. So some of these are going to be more challenging, right? The recording engineer in Nashville is going to be a much more competitive topic versus probably special education bands for kids. And so sometimes it takes longer to rank for certain things. Now, looking at your website here, we're not going to get into all the details of the website itself, but just going into your blog, you've produced a lot of content and you're using YouTube videos, which is a great thing to do. So I'm going to focus the next 10 minutes or so on how do we get more on your website and how do we get more out of YouTube and how those two things work together. So I'm going to pop right into this first blog post here. And this rock and roll Led Zeppelin, if I want, I can play it here. You've embedded it on your site. I can also click the title and go look at it on YouTube. So there's a couple things that we want to do here. First, this content is a good label, but we want to add more text to the page. Google's going to read the text. Sometimes people want to scroll through and read before they decide to hit that play button. You're entertainment, so you'll probably get more clicks than most businesses, but if this were a marketing video, if this were a plumbing video, I might want to investigate more before I hit play. So what I would encourage you to do is at a minimum, summarize this. Think if somebody asked you, what's this all about? And you'd say, oh, well, we did this cover and it was at this location. Yeah. Well, how many songs did we do? We did 6 songs in the set, but this is one of the songs. Something notable about this song is XYZ. So at a minimum, I would say grab your phone, do voice to text, and just sort of have that conversation.
Okay.
Now, you can go a little further. When you upload your own videos, I can't see this here, but most accounts, when you click these 3 buttons, will show you a transcript. Now, transcripts for music are probably going to be a little iffy. But if you're doing a talking head video like we are right now, you will want to grab that transcript, and probably at the bottom here, at the bottom here, you might actually have a label that says transcript and just paste the whole transcript. And that
what does that mean?
So I'll show you an example on Locable. There we go. So here on this particular video, I'm talking about how I often see people share their email newsletter link from a MailChimp or a Constant Contact directly to social media. It's a big no-no, because if you're going to share to social, send people to your website. Right. And so I go through and I talk about this. So this is my formatted blog to go with it. This allows people to read, allows Google to read. It has these keywords. And then I have my call to action. And then below my call to action, I literally put the transcript, which I lightly format here. So these are the words I actually said in the video, but I actually called out some added formatting and added.
Oh, okay. Can you show me how to do that?
Yeah. So you can only do it.
Oh, with music, it doesn't really work, right?
It won't work well for music.
Right, okay. That makes sense.
if you wanted to have the lyrics, by all means, you could pop the lyrics in, but it's more for the talking head situation. And so you do a number of tutorials. So the tutorial part, you may want to grab those transcripts and do that.
And they're wanting to see original content, right? We can't just copy and paste stuff.
Transcripts you can. And so you'll notice, because this is a video that we posted to my account, I can click show transcript and it shows it over here.
But I couldn't just like type up some paragraphs and things and just copy and paste them to all my blogs and stuff, right? That probably
well, the content of each blog should be unique to that blog topic. Although if you're reusing, let's say you have a sentence or two or even a paragraph that applies in multiple places, that's okay to reuse that paragraph. You just need the entire content to be unique. So, in sports, what you'll find is if you go to ESPN, I'm a baseball fan, the Angels are my team, Mike Trout got hurt last year. So there would be an update on Mike Trout, and it would have the first 100 words would be new, and then the paragraph was like, Mike Trout got hurt on this date doing this thing to this part of his body. They reuse that over and over again. That's okay. So you can reuse some of that stuff. Cool. But so in this case, again, you're going to want to just talk about who is the band, what was the venue, when was it, why did you do the song, what's unique about it, what does someone need to know learning this. And in your case, because you're both a performer and an instructor, some posts might lean one way or the other, where you're going to talk about students. And in some cases, you'll say, hey, as a performer, this, when I was learning this and how I teach my students is this. So you could have it do double duty.
I see.
Adding content here is going to take you a few minutes. It should be under 15 minutes. And you can do voice to text. I like to do voice to text.
I used to do that. I like that better. Yeah.
Yeah. Just make sure to edit it, because I know for me, my diction's not good enough for them to pick it up right.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So that is going to give you a major leg up on your content, because now Google sees this on your site. And again, if you can format it, you don't want a big wall of text. You want to do formatting so that as people come down, you've got headers, short paragraphs. You notice how there's like bold, not bold. This doesn't have it, but you can use bullet points. And of course, if you have links, if you're going to refer to instruction, then link to the page on your site that talks about that instruction.
I assume, Brian, that it's okay to go back on some old videos and add that content, right?
Absolutely. And in fact, what you'll find is over time, some of your old content will still play well. So we get a fair amount of traffic to our site for a couple of specific blog posts that we did years ago. So we will then, when we notice we continue to get traffic from Google, we'll go back and refresh that, or we'll add a new call to action. So by all means, you can edit your existing content. I don't know why this is, but YouTube does not give you a mobile-friendly embed. You'll notice it doesn't actually fill up the space that you have available here, which is ironic because Google is all about mobile, mobile, mobile. So when you come in here and you click the share button and you click embed, they're actually fixing the width. So I'm going to give you a little tip here. There's a service called Embed Responsively. And when you're working in Locable, our help center actually links out to this. If you grab not the embed code, but rather if I just grab this code right here, that basic link, and I come in here and paste it and hit embed, it's going to actually give me something that is fully mobile responsive. So it will completely use the space available. And so now if I take this and I go to your account, I'm going to go ahead and update this blog post.
Does that help with the searching as well?
It doesn't help with search engines, but I think you'll find it looks a little more attractive.
It looks better, yeah.
Yeah. So now when I hit refresh, it fills the space perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's nice.
So just a little quick thing. It takes 15 seconds, but it'll give you a nicer completed picture there. Finally, lead guitarist in Franklin is a good start. I would encourage you to add another note that you were you filling in? Were you a guest player? Is this part of the standard band? What's the band name? Right? Because
in the title, right?
In the title. Okay. So you don't want to have a paragraph up there, but you may have 10, 12, maybe 15 words in your title, because the keywords, the location, the action, and the who's involved.
So it can be a little longer.
A little longer, yeah.
Okay.
And think about it, when you hit share to Facebook, this is the only thing guaranteed to be shown to somebody. So if it's too long, the end will get cut off, but that meaty middle part is really what you want to show. And so you can be a little redundant in the title and in your body content down below as well. Now, once you've done this, there's something you can do here directly in YouTube. So you can put a little more content in here. YouTube is a search engine, so when somebody searches here or even on Google, it's going to try to grab that content too. There may be a different context of what you share, but what else you can do is you can edit this and literally add a link from this video to the blog post.
Oh, okay. So go back into my YouTube channel and add these links to those. Oh, okay. Used to go back, Brian, and do the address that I use. Should I go back and keep doing that for the YouTube channel as well?
If this was at a particular venue and you would like to, maybe show up for that, not a bad idea. Include the venue name, include the date. If it was part of a
No, I mean my business address.
Oh, I don't think you necessarily need to do that here.
Okay.
All the roads will lead back. If you want to say that
Okay.
this was at our studio at this address, because it's related,
Oh, I see.
for sure. If it was, a random festival, it's not related. But what I usually do here is I'll have just a brief summary on YouTube, and I'll say something like catch the blog post at, and I'll put the link in there. So now if somebody does see it on YouTube, they can come in here, they can click the link, and now they're back at locable.com. And what links do, it's the World Wide Web. It's a web of links. So Google will walk through pages, and that's how they discover content, but also they give you some link juice, which is why every time you have these blog posts, you also want to link to other related blog posts like this one, or you might want to link to pages like this one. So as you talk about those keywords, right? So if I look at this one, lead guitarist, now what you want to do to take that list you gave me and combine it with what we've been talking about is you're going to want to look at that list and say, okay, what applies to this blog post that I'm doing? I'm pointing over here with my monitor. So, you said utility player in Nashville. You said guitarist in Franklin, guitarist in Nashville. What else do we have in here? This rock music producer in Nashville. So can you weave some of those in to the body or even to the title, right? What's the most important piece that you'd want someone to know if it was just this one line that they're going to see? What's the most important thing? And so again, you don't want to do what's called keyword stuffing, where you just throw a bunch of random words on the page. But if you were talking to me as a band that may want to bring you on, some of the phrases you might use with me in a conversation, see if you can work those in, because
sounds like we're also trying to find a niche, something that is less broad, something a bit more specific in that title, right?
Indeed. So your blog may cover a wide range of topics, but each individual post is more specific, or at least somewhat more narrow. And what you can do is, since you have so much content, you can start to categorize your posts as you've done here.
Is that working?
Yep. So now what happens is this automatically generates this page. So every post with this category shows these content, but you can go further and you can decide, I want to show these posts on a specific page alongside something. So if you had a bunch of posts tagged with, session player, you could actually come in here, and at the bottom of this page about you being a session player, you could have those blog posts show up down below. So now,
I need to do that.
So within the context, what happens is, one is it's good for people, right? Because if I'm thinking about what you can do as a session player, and then I can see examples.
I need to do that. I was thinking about that yesterday.
And it's also good for Google, because now you're telling Google these blog posts and this page, they fit together. So
that makes sense.
So to do that, just to give you a quick example, if I come into manage blogs, you currently have your main blog feed here, but I can come over here and create a new blog feed, and let's call this session player. And we'll scroll down, and I don't know if session player is being used. There we go. So we'll say pedal steel. You can be real specific. Typing's hard for me. Okay, and on this, let's show up to, 6, and then we can link to your blog page if there's more than 6.
Oh, wow.
So now what we'll
that's
do,
quick.
yeah, so now we'll go view more and we'll hide Locable branding. You don't need that on every page. So we'll create that. So now we've got this feed of content, okay? And it's selected to show your own content. Some folks who are cross-promoting with other businesses might show other people's content, doesn't apply here. Now we've created this, but we haven't done anything with it yet. So now we're gonna come in here to your website and we're gonna add it to a page. So if I go to pedal steel and guitarist, I can come in here to this page that you have. And I'm gonna scroll to the bottom and I'm gonna click embed. And then we're gonna do a content feed. And we're going to use this pedal steel embed. So a lot of folks, when they get started creating content, they don't have but 1 or 2 posts. What we're doing here doesn't apply. But now, since you've got so much content,
I see.
Start to be real particular. And so if I click preview, I scroll down, and there are you currently have 4 posts that talk about pedal steel, right? And so as you add more posts, this page will update automatically, as long as you tag it appropriately. So given the number of you cover a fair breadth of music content from playing to instructing. So you're going to have a lot more categories and tags than most people. If I were a restaurant, my blog post would consist of probably breakfast, lunch, dinner, and catering, right? So I would have 4 categories. And every time I do a blog post, I would pick one and it would show up on the catering.
Yeah. Right.
So you'll have more options, but the idea is the same throughout. And now, of course, I'm looking at pedal steel stuff and I get to the bottom and go, oh, let's check this out. And now I'm looking at your blog post.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
So the big takeaways here are your titles are incredibly valuable. And the way you're doing this is good, but I would add something specific, right? Because you don't want 5 blog posts with the exact same title.
That's been the problem. So I've been doing that to try to rank higher with that search, but then you're saying that probably doesn't, I guess, just aiming for a niche is probably better.
Well, and to be clear, the questions that I would like to know is, what session were you joining? I assume that means who you're
more
playing
specific.
with.
Yeah.
Maybe when may or may not matter. If you play at a festival, when matters. Mm-hmm. If you play with this band all the time, when's slightly less relevant for the title. So I would just expand this a little bit. And you don't actually need the Tennessee, given Nashville. I mean, there are other Nashvilles, but when you say music in Nashville, it probably This almost is the title that I would go with. This in Nashville, right? Because now Ryan Adams type ambient pedal steel. Now I don't know anything about pedal steel, so I suspect if I did, that would mean a little bit more to me.
Yeah, I would. Right.
Yeah. So weave those in, and then I would expand on the details here of, where was the session? How many songs did you do? Why was pedal steel a good ad for the music? Was there a song you didn't play pedal steel on, and why was that decision made, right? The sound or the vibe or the whatever. So at the end of the day, every blog post that you do, you want to share your perspective and your opinion. And I know you got some opinions, right? So you want people to get a sense of your why. And then if they like sort of your view of the world, then they're going to really want to call you. And if they don't, well, you're probably not a good fit anyways, and you don't want them to call you.
You don't want them to call you. Yeah. Question, Brian. I've been tagging the URL to the Facebook page and my Google business. Is that something we should still do?
Yeah. So the recommendation is that you would actually either take this whole link and copy and paste it into Facebook, or you hit your share button. And when you hit your share button, it's going to give you a chance to share it to your personal profile. Don't do that very often. Or your page. Definitely do that. So you always want to link from social back to your website, right? Because Facebook's not your friend. And so you want to get people out of Facebook to your website and be able to do that sort of thing. So what we should do, however, is add your Facebook page, not your personal profile, your page, to your website, so people can follow you on Facebook. And maybe you want to add your YouTube link to your page. That's all fine. And so we can do that at any point when you come in here to Locable and you go to company data, social profiles, whatever you pop in here will show up in that footer there for you as well. So, we want you to have more followers. We just don't want you to be beholden to the Facebook algorithm gods to actually reach them.
I know, I understand. How valuable is it to go around to all the different web pages to make sure that address looks exactly the same? Do you remember when we talked years ago?
Directory listing management?
Yeah. Do you remember we had to address that, and that seemed to make a difference? Do we need to review that again?
So there are a lot of directories out there, from Yelp to City Search, which is going away, probably to TripAdvisor for bed and breakfast doesn't apply to you, but there's all these different directories. It is good for you to have a presence on these. Is it worth your time compared to other things? It depends. If I was a bed and breakfast, I would be on TripAdvisor, right? And
don't they upload your information even if you don't want it?
Some do, but if you claim your account, you do make sure it shows up correctly, which is good for Google. We do have an integration here. So in your account, you can do account settings, and you can do integrations, and you can link to Google My Business. Actually, it's now Google Business Profile. We have to update that label. They renamed it. But when you do this link, and if you don't already have your Google Business Profile, you can actually create it through here. So you can link it, and then everything that you see in company data and like contact info, it will show you if it matches Google or not once you've linked it.
But just Google, nothing else.
Google's the first one, but it is the biggest one, and that is going to have the biggest bang for your buck. So if you can only do one, the connection here is the biggest.
So in other words, you don't think we need to go around and make sure that whatever other web pages snagged my address, that they've done it correctly or not?
So it's not a magic wand by any means. If your name was somewhat generic, like Crystal Pool Services, right? It would help you perhaps outrank others with similar names because you have more, they're called citations. Your business is pretty unique, and just claiming those will not help you rank for Pedal Steel Player.
I got you.
But competitive names are very important. And Google My Business or Google Business Profile is important because it shows you on Google Maps, the sidebar. And if you do any events that you're promoting, we have these great event promotion tools. You can also push events into Google. Later, you'll be able to push events to other places, and they do get picked up by some local calendars as well. And the other thing that I'm going to show to you here, you create a lot of content as a creator. A lot of our businesses are not creative, and that's just the way it is. So in business blogging, we've recently introduced 12 different prompt-based templates. And so not all of them apply to everyone, but event recap may be something you want to share when you play with a band. So if you come into event recap, what it's going to do is provide some guidance so that you don't have to think quite as much. Or specifically, you don't have to have the full attention, because all of us are busy. We've got kids, we've got work, we've got stuff going on. And so it's going to walk you through, so you can give it a title, you'll upload your image or embed your video, and then it's going to ask you some questions. What was the event? Where and when did it take place, with some prompts? And so you'll say, I played at XYZ with this band, whatever, right?
Okay.
And so you'll keep going. And was there something funny or unexpected that happened? What we're trying to get to is, I wasn't there. What did I miss? So in your case, maybe something funny did happen, or maybe it was just, hey, we ended up playing 3 extra songs and we went on this other riff or something. Okay.
Is this basically like a blog?
This will generate your blogs for you. That's right.
Oh, so okay.
Instead of you thinking about what do I want to say here, you'll just march your way through.
I see. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So here, if you were a guest player with a band, what did they say? If somebody came up to you after the performance, what did they say? Brag on yourself a bit, but in the words that they use as most you can. And if this didn't apply, if there was none of this, you just hit remove and you skip it. If this was a fundraiser, doesn't really apply to you, but we work with a lot of nonprofits that have events they want to share and they raise some money, and I remove, and then maybe I want to add a form or a call to action. And if not, I hit publish. That's my blog post. In your case, don't forget to set your categories over here. And that's it. So This is part of our paid program. So you've got a website with us, you've got this included. But again, the idea here is that these prompt-based guided approach, now you don't really have to think through or be creative. You just answer the question. Boom, 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 boom.
I see. Okay.
So hopefully it'll save you time and help you add more content without too much additional effort. There is something called Webmaster Tools, or in fact now, what do they call it? Google Search Console.
Okay.
And so you can come in and do some things with Google Search Console to see what your search performance is looking like, et cetera. I will say they continue to obscure things. So if I come in here and I look at search results, the queries that people use, most of the time they won't actually tell you. So if you add up all of these clicks, it doesn't add up to the number of clicks we got. It's probably 5 to 10%. And so it will give you an idea, but it is just a sample because most of the searches are locked down and they don't want to share that data. There are some third-party tools as well. Moz has some search tools. By the way, most of the people we work with, this is way too much work. They've got 15 minutes a week, right? They're not going to invest. But if you want to go further, Moz has some good tools, both free and paid. So competitive research tools, etc. There is a service called Uber Suggest, which is also a good service, and they have a free option and paid options. And so all of these things are trying to guess at the reality of Google because Google's behind a black box, right? But there are some things that you can use, and you may find yourself discovering heavily searched terms with low competition. And sometimes it's a long, weird search, but everyone's doing it. Other times it's a shorter search and there's just not much competition. I had somebody say to me, I want to rank when someone searches for COVID-19. Never going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Trillions of web pages. But if you were going to rank for COVID-19 support groups in Franklin, Tennessee, now you got a shot, right? So it just depends. And localizing the content, localizing the search is going to help you show up for those.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I really appreciate you letting me use you as an example, especially as an example of someone who creates a lot of content already. Hopefully you got a couple of ideas to make updates, and definitely use the business blogging tools to use the guided approach so that you don't have to really brainstorm a whole lot. It'll just let you answer questions. And definitely you can always go back and add more. I'll regularly find myself creating a blog post. I hit publish, I share it, and I go, I forgot that thing I wanted to say. And I'll go back and I'll update it, and it's just fine.
One last question, Brian.
Sure.
Is Google taking down reviews?
Google tends to be more review agnostic than, say, Yelp. Google does have some terms of service around reviews. So if somebody only does one review, or if it seems scammy or spammy, they'll probably intervene. If they are legitimate, you should be good to go. You can use our reviews tools to collect reviews into Locable that will show on your site. Very shortly, you'll be able to pull in Google reviews to show on your site through that Google Business Profile integration. And if you use our tools to collect reviews, after they submit it through us, we'll give them a link to your Google profile to go leave a review there too, if they're so inclined to do that.
Okay, so I've just had some people that have posted reviews and they haven't shown up on Google.
That could be because they're sort of new Google users, or they've never posted reviews before. Sometimes they want to see that someone has a habit of posting reviews to make sure that they're more legit versus you created a fake account to review your own business sort of thing,
Totally.
So that could be it. But if you use our reviews tools, every review you collect, you can choose to show on your site, whether or not it appears on Google. But we do show it on your site in a Google optimized way, so Google can also pick it up and use it on their search results.
Thank you.